Hello, welcome or welcome back to the YarnNYarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Welcome to day 3 of this year's 12 cast on adventure. I'm excited to get started with a new project today. So yeah, I think without further ado I'm just going to roll the dice and we'll see where we're going today. I'm eager to get started, can you tell? Okay, number 13, unlucky for some. We shall see what 13 brings us. It's not going to be unlucky because there are no projects in here that I'm not excited to start. There are some projects that will involve a little bit more sort of work and thinking behind them. There are some projects which I already know exactly what yarn I'm going to use, but there's nothing in here. I haven't put anything in here to sort of trip myself up. There's nothing that I'm not looking forward to. So yeah, let's reveal together. I've done the same. I've just put another card on the back there so I can't yet see the prompt. 13 is Santa's hat, so we'll see what Santa has under his hat for us. Oops. Oop, camera doesn't want to focus. Okay, heptagon time shawl. Excellent. Okay, so I was gifted this pattern by the lovely Mairead. Mairead gifted me this shawl with a little note to say that she thought the shawl pattern would be great for hand-spun yarn. So I've always had that in mind, that I'm going to have a sort through my hand-spun stash. So it's going to be 2 days in a row that I'm casting on with hand-spun, which is really quite exciting. Let me pop up a picture on the screen of the designer's picture of the shawl so you can get an idea of the lovely pattern and the lovely shape, because if I'm remembering rightly, it had a really nice shape to it. So I'm going to pull up the pattern on my phone, have a little look and see about the yarn requirements, and then I'm going to have a little rummage through my stash and see what I can come up with. A really fun, exciting start to the day. So thank you so much for the gift of the pattern, Mairead. Okay, just as yesterday I spent way too much time trying to come up with a combination for my shawl, I had to read through the pattern and it does say it's got a slightly unusual cast on, which hey, why not? Gonna be another challenge to get the project started. But the good thing about the project is you can pretty much use any yarn thickness you want, although the pattern as originally written is for fingering weight. The designer just notes that you should use a needle size that gives you a reasonably light and airy fabric, which means there's tons of leeway to choose yarns, and that kind of got me stuck for a little while because that almost gives too many choices. I've got a healthy selection of hand-spun yarn now. I think I've made a decision, I think. And I think I'm just going to go with it, otherwise I could be here all day. And I have decided to go maybe somewhat off the wall for a lot of people's tastes. So I've got these 2 skeins of what I would say were sort of somewhat art yarns. At least they're sort of very lightly textured. The bats that I spun these from were just a mix of fibres, a mix of sort of different colours. There's some sparkle in them and they've just resulted in a couple of really fun yarns. And I've never quite known what to do with these, but I think they look quite nice together, all of the colours. And then more recently I also spun up a mixed blend of Rolags, which I purchased from Alternate Universe a little while ago, and again it's kind of a fun just mix of colours, mix of fibres. They've got some nice blue and pink in this one, and there's kind of blue and pinks in the other 2 skeins. So I'm thinking to put these together. The shawl requires between 350 and 700 metres of yarn. It's one of those patterns that you can just go until it's as big as you want it to be. I feel like because these are quite in your face in terms of loads of different colours, I feel like it might benefit from some sort of solid stripe sections. So I have in my fibre stash a little bit of black merino. So I'm thinking that I might actually spin this up as I go and use this to add in some solid stripes. I also have this really fun neon green which picks up, there's some neon green particularly in this centre one, but there are greens in the other 2 bundles as well. And as soon as I put those together I really loved it. I know it's really bright and it wouldn't be for everyone, but I just think that little pop of colour with also some black every now and then, I think this is just going to be a really fun kind of off the wall colourful shawl. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. I think I'm just going to do it, otherwise I would spend forever. I've got loads of other, you should see my room at the moment, I've pulled out all of my hand spun stash, put together a whole ton of different combinations that I think would look great, but in the end a lot of the other yarns I could also see in other projects, but these, as I say, that are more sort of gently textured, more on the art yarn side of things, I'm not sure how I would use them, so this seems like the perfect project to actually end up with something really fun and get some use out of these yarns that otherwise are just sat in my hand spun stash. Time to get winding these up and think about spinning up this black. I might need to order a little bit more black. I think I've probably only got like 10 or 20 grams here, if that. But that'll be easily ordered. Some more black merino is not going to be hard to come across. I do have a couple of out of the house errands to run, so I'm going to go off and do those as well before I cast on. Once those are done, I do need to also start thinking about that fibre club thing that I need to get done by the end of the week. But I think today, as far as I go, I'm going to just sort out my fibre, get my fibre ready, and then tomorrow and for the rest of the week I will actually deal with getting the bats and the rolags made for that fibre club. So hopefully they'll be in the post by the end of the week. Plenty for me to do and to get on with, so let's go and get winding some yarn. I've wound up the first skein, and I've ended up with quite a few sort of smaller balls of yarn. There are a few breaks in this, but I'm not worried about that at all. It's a single ply yarn, and actually I spun this on my wheel, and I think it was one of the first things I spun on my wheel. So yeah, there was bound to be some inconsistencies in it, and it's definitely thick and thin, but the colours are so much fun, and yeah, I can't wait to start knitting this and see what it looks like. I think this shawl's going to be just, yeah, fabulous fun. All my yarns are now wound. I think it's going to be quite interesting because these two are plied and these are all singles. The second skein was also actually 2 mini skeins wound together when I unrolled it, and there were a couple of breaks as well, so I've got a little selection of bits and pieces, but as I said earlier, I've no problem with that. They're just going to knit up just fine. So yeah, I'm pretty much ready. I'm gonna try and find my, oh, I can't open this, try and find my stitch marker. Oh, there it is, number 3 on top. And I think I'm going to keep all of these in this lovely bucket bag that I've got from Eldenwood Crafts of Emma, because I should be able to see all of my yarns easily, and then I'll be able to pick and choose where I want to sort of join and stripe them in. So I'm going to pop these all in the bag, and then I'm going to grab my black fibre and I'll cast on, and then hopefully I'll do a little bit of spinning this afternoon as well. For my errand running, and it's a bit of an eventful morning here. We've had some really high winds overnight, and I went out of the front door to head off to the post office, and there was a whole bunch of cable just reeled up in our garden hanging off the side of our house. I'm like, where's that come from? And I went down the end of the road, and they're replacing a telephone pole down the road, so I don't know if it was just in need of replacing or if the wind blew it over. So yeah, there's shenanigans going on outside, so that's a little bit of entertainment for the day. And then when I got home from the post office run, I had some amazing post as well, so I thought I'd just share with you on this vlog as we're vlogging today. So first off, I ordered some yarn from Attic Spin Dye, and I can't show you the yarn because it's for a secret knitting project, but the lovely Andy and Angela were so kind as to gift me some fibre as well, so I thought I would just share that with you. This was such a surprise and such a kind gift, and thank you for your lovely note, Angela, in the packet as well. So this is the Castaway colourway in 100% superwash Masham, and it's beautiful, oranges, blues and browns, and Angela put a note on there saying something else to squeeze onto your fibre cart. And yeah, I think I can see a space for it. So that is amazing. I will look forward to spinning that up. That's going to make some beautiful yarn, isn't it? Look at those blues and oranges. gorgeous. So thank you so much for that kind gift. That really made me smile. I was feeling a bit grumpy after running my errands because a walk to the post office and back should not make me feel as tired as it has done, but that's because I'm sick. So yeah, I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself, and then I came home to find a beautiful gift, so of course that's always going to cheer me up. Thank you so much. Also, I got a gift from all the way across the pond, the lovely Simone, who has really inspired me on my sort of planner and journal journey. It was her channel that made me think about just jumping in and starting a journal and just being creative with it in my own way without needing to feel like I needed to be an artist, because I'd watched a lot of bullet journal videos where people were obviously super talented designing their own sort of spreads and their own pages, and I just thought I could never do that. But Simone really encouraged me through her videos just to jump in, have a go, splash a bit of paint, add some washi tape and some paper onto my pages, and I've had so much joy and fun out of doing that over the last few years. She did let me know that she was going to send me a package that would help me with my dice rolling game at the beginning of each month, you know how I choose my projects. I got a beautiful handwritten letter, which was just such a joy to read, because when do you ever get like a proper handwritten letter these days, like, you know, proper double-sided what's going on in Simone's life. And yeah, it was just such a joy to read that, so thank you so much. And then also I got these fabulous cards. Look, they're so beautifully made, better than my scrappy little bits of cut out cardboard. And then on the back, Simone suggested that I could put a sticky note with prompts on, which means that I could then swap them out whenever I felt like it. So I've got 1 to 20 different cards here, numbered, so they will be perfect. I'm just so thrilled with those. And then there were also a few other little bits and pieces in the package. The one thing that I definitely want to show you, there's some washi tape samples wrapped around a card, but look at this amazing sticker which says spinner on it, and there is a picture of a woman doing some drop spindle spinning. Isn't that just fabulous? I am completely in love with that. I've never seen anything quite like that one before, so I'm going to be definitely popping that into my journal once I get it set up. It's inspiring me again. I'm going to leave those on my desk to remind me to get out and get the paper that I need to get my pages set up. So thank you so much for that, Simone, as well. So yeah, what a joy to receive not 1 but 2 special gifts on a day where I needed a bit of a pick-me-up. My apologies, this is the worst room in the house to record in terms of the light. I'm in my dining room come office, and I'm about to start editing the video from day 2. While I'm here, I thought I might start a bit of spinning as well, because there are points when I'm editing where I'm just listening to myself talk back. And out here, just off shot, you can't see, I've got my treadle spinning wheel, which I'm currently using to spin up the fibre for my Love Note sweater, which is actually one of last year's 12 cast ons. But I thought I might just pop that bobbin off of the wheel and start spinning up the black fibre. I'm going to aim just to spin a singles, I think, with the black fibre. I had planned to hop on and buy some more of this black straight away, but what I think I might do is just hold off and see how much I get from this, and then start knitting, and perhaps I might not need to even buy any more of this. If I do need to buy it, I can get some in the future. I'm not going to obviously finish this shawl anytime soon, so what I don't want is to order a whole bunch of fibre that I don't really need, and then I don't want, because I'm trying to specifically spin this up as singles, I don't want to end up with a bunch of black singles fibre in my stash, because that is something that will probably end up sitting around not being used if I don't need it all for this project. So yeah, I think I'm going to be a little bit sensible, spin up what I have, see how far that takes me, and then only order some more if I need it. Once I've done my editing, I will cast on with some of the yarn that I've wound up. start of my spinning has been going pretty well. I'm having to remind myself to spin a bit thicker than I usually would because I want to leave this as singles, and I'm also trying to deliberately add a bit of gentle thick and thinness to my singles as well, because the two sort of art yarn singles that I'm planning to use in this shawl are also quite thick and thin, so I think it would be a little bit strange if I introduced the black yarn and it was entirely smooth, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to leave the inconsistencies in there as I'm spinning. And I'm actually quite enjoying sitting here doing a little bit of spinning. I've finished my editing now, so I might pop on a couple of podcasts and see if I can't just get through this spin. I'm not sure how long it will take, but yeah, I think I'm just in the mood to continue spinning for a bit. It would be quite good if I can get this black spun today and then I can soak it and leave it to dry for the next day or two, which means that when I'm ready to get back to this project after the 12 cast ons, I'll have the yarn ready there to use. So yeah, I think that would be a good thing to get done today, if I can. But of course I've still got to actually cast on the knitting part of the project as well. But it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's plenty of time left in the day. It's 4:30 p.m. and I've just finished getting the video for yesterday's cast on, day 2, up onto YouTube. And I've also finished spinning the black fluff. No knitting yet, but the spinning is done. So I will turn the camera around in a minute and show you. I've forgotten how quickly sort of spinning happens when you're not trying to spin as finely as possible. And also it helped that I wasn't necessarily aiming for consistency. So yeah, I flew through the quantity of fluff. I never did weigh it in the end, so I'm not sure how much I spun, but it's going to be less than 20 grams, I would say. Hey there, welcome to my Thursday morning. I apologise, I didn't think I really updated yesterday when I was knitting in the evening. You know when you have these sort of cold flu virus things, is it just me or is it always the worst first thing in the morning and last thing at night? And I just didn't really have the wherewithal to chat to the camera yesterday evening, but I did get a little bit of knitting done. I think you saw me casting on, so of course I will update you with that in a minute. But first, let's chat about some of the amazing cast-ons that have been going on in the community over the last day or so. Robin has started an Ewok hood, which sounds amazing, and Robin said that's for their daughter for an upcoming trip to Disney, which just sounds perfect. Deb has started her next charity make and is going to be casting on a driftwood sweater for a small person. Angela has started some vine stitch socks. Jeanette has started a granny stripe using some scrap yarn, and she said she also cast on a shawl, but it went a little bit haywire, those were her words. So she decided to cast on instead some cosy autumn socks. So yeah, best laid plans and all that. That happens to me all the time. Gemma has been casting on and has started some Grand Central socks and a 2-colour brioche headband. Couldn't wrap my head around the words then. Can you tell? My brain is a bit fuddled today. My silly virus thing did not let me sleep well last night. Kate has started a garland made from mini hats, and she said it's never too early to start on the Christmas decorations, and I completely agree. Mary has started a Hansel hat, which is a pattern by Goodwin Johnson, and is using some lovely wool that she purchased when she was able to go to Shetland Wool Week, which is one of my bucket list things to do. How lucky Mary, and Mary said it was amazing, so yeah, I definitely have that on my dream to do one day. The lovely Emma of Eldenwood Craft, I'm sure you'll know Emma, but I'll link Emma's channel below, has started a litmus cowl using some of her precious stash, and has also started a Felix sweater using some Let Lopi. Connie has started a crochet blanket for her cousin's baby, which just sounds so lovely and cosy. Angie is about to start a Kahlua, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Kahlua, which is a pattern by Baby Cocktails, and it's a double knit cardigan with cables. I know a lot of Baby Cocktails patterns are cable based, aren't they? That's Thea Coleman. Victoria has started, and she said has finished, a Love Note sweater, which is just amazing. That's super speedy knitting, isn't it? She's also started some wrist warmers, a Dolan cardigan, which is another pattern by Baby Cocktails, and some washcloths. We love a good washcloth. Christy has started 6 projects, a Yumi sweater, some socks, and is going to be spinning to knit 2 sweaters. One is a Love Note, and she said another sweater in the mix as well. Anne of the No Excuses Knitting podcast, again I shall knit that below, has started a worsted boxy and has also been stash diving to cast on some projects for some other people, because Anne's comment made me laugh. She said it's easier sometimes to get started on the projects for other people than to choose the things that she wants herself. Which, yeah, I completely understand. When you're knitting for yourself, there's such a plethora of pattern choices out there. It's sometimes a little bit overwhelming to decide what you're actually going to sit down and cast on, isn't it? So hence for me the 12 cast ons, because then you know, there's still decisions to be made, but I've got quite a lot of wiggle room to choose from 12 different projects. Thank you to everyone who has been continuing to share their cast-ons and all of the other lovely comments under the previous videos as well. There's been so many, and I will continue to catch up as and when I can. Okay, so in terms of my progress on my heptagon time shawl, I think, hopefully have included a little bit of a video that I took this morning of me starting to wind off the black yarn that I spun up yesterday, the singles merino, and I'm expecting this to have quite a lot of active twist as I take it off of the niddy noddy, because singles often do, so I'm expecting this to bounce around on itself as I, oops, there it goes. So it looks like a bit of an active mess at the moment, but I know from spinning singles in the past that once I wash and sort of set this, then a lot of that twist is going to come out and the yarn should be great to knit with. This has turned out a little bit more consistent than I was aiming for. With my singles that I'm using in the actual shawl project itself, the sort of bats did the work for me in terms of adding the texture, because there were lots of different fibres in those bats and it just spun as it wanted to be. I'm not very practiced at sort of spinning intentionally thick and thin yarns, so yeah, this is a little bit more consistent than I was actually aiming for, but it's fine. It will work, I'm sure. And in terms of my knitting, there's quite a lot of ends on this, which I was going to weave in, but didn't quite get round to. You can't really see too many, I don't think, from your side. But this is my little start on my heptagon time shawl, and already I am completely in love with this project. I know it's completely bonkers, but I just can't wait to see it grow. And yeah, I've already added in, as you can see, some of that bright green, and I could have done a little bit more knitting on this, but I felt like I had got to the point. I don't want my sort of stripes to be regular. I want it to be quite a free project. I don't want to overthink things. I just want to join in yarns as and when I feel like a change. But I felt like if I added any more rounds of this colour, I was in danger of making my 2 sort of stripes of the colour pretty much the same. So yeah, I decided to stop, and also I want to, at this point, I think, add in some of the black so that the black's coming in fairly quickly, and so that it's a little bit more balanced, and I'm not sort of knitting a huge chunk of the shawl and then adding in the black lower down, because I think that would also look odd. I think there's quite an art to making randomness look right, if that makes any sense whatsoever. There's the kind of randomness which looks like a complete chaotic mess, and then there's randomness which works. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know, I know what I mean in my head. So yeah, I want this to be quite a free project, but also I want to have a little bit of thought behind what I'm doing. I think this is going to be quite a witchy shawl with the colours. There's like purple and orange, there'll be black, and obviously the bright green as well. It's giving me witchy vibes, so I shall be living my best witch in the woods life once I finish this shawl, I think. I love it so much. I started out with a 3.5mm needle, so the pattern recommends a 3.25 to work with fingering weight yarn. My yarns are, for the most part, a little bit thicker than that. So I started with a 3.5mm needle, but it felt quite tight, the fabric, in the first few rounds. So after a few rounds I switched up to a 4mm needle, and I'm getting a fabric that I'm much happier with. Some of my yarns have got quite thick bits in, which I probably could even go up to a 4.5, but also some of the yarns have got really fine bits in as well, and I think maybe 4.5 might be just too big of a gauge for the sort of thin bits. I don't want kind of really sort of see-through holy bits in my shawl. So yeah, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm using a mix of plied yarn and singles yarns. The really bright coloured sort of fun yarns are the singles, and they're already like fuzzing up and felting slightly as I'm working them. So this is going to be such a warm, cosy shawl in the end, I think. And yeah, I'm loving the texture, I'm loving the colours. I think it's just going to be, as I said yesterday, I said the word fun a lot, I think, when I was recording yesterday. This is definitely going to be a fun project. I struggled a little bit to get started with that. The cast on was actually fine in the end. I think you saw me casting on, you sort of cast on with a crochet hook using the magic ring method, if you've ever done crochet in that method, and then you pop your stitches onto a knitting needle, which was fine. The only thing the one thing I struggled with is a lot of my crochet hooks. I don't think I have one in my bag, but I used the crochet hooks with these sort of ergonomic handles, and the number of stitches that I had to cast on, it was like a real squeeze to get them on to the actual metal bit of my crochet hook. So I think if you have the crochet hooks that are purely metal, without the handles, it might be slightly easier to do the cast on for that, just because of the number of stitches. Also, at the start of the pattern recommended you put these removable markers and attach them to specific stitches which mark the increase points, which I needed, because my yarn is quite textured, it's quite colourful, and it wasn't immediately obvious which stitches. If you'd use a plain yarn, you could probably quite easily see the stitches that you were increasing around, but because the pattern recommended you attach the markers to the stitch, it became very fiddly at the beginning, sort of removing the markers and putting them onto the stitch in the row above and things. So in the end I sort of kind of rewrote the pattern slightly, so that I had my stitch markers around my cable rather than attached to a stitch, and I was slipping the stitch markers, and I sort of rejigged the pattern. It's only a few rows of pattern repeat. I rejigged it in a way that made sense to me, so that I wasn't having to fiddle around with the markers so much. I could just slip them as I came to them, and once I'd done that, it was a much faster process. And yeah, I might have made a bit more of a meal out of that than I might otherwise have done if my brain was functioning at full capacity. But yeah, I'm very woolly-headed, so yeah, I possibly made that more difficult for myself than it needed to have been in the first place. So there we go. I'm very happy to have this project living in this bucket bag, because, as I say, it's very easy for me to see in there and pick out my yarns, what's coming next. So yeah, I will look forward to getting back to that when time allows, and in the meantime I'm going to head off and give this black yarn a soak and hang it up to dry over the next few days, and it will be ready to use for the next time I am able to get back to this project. I don't think I mentioned yesterday that the two singles yarns, the art yarns, those bats were gifted to me by my lovely friend Jeanette. So big thank you to Jeanette for facilitating this project by providing me with a fun fibre which I spun up, and of course a big thank you again to Mairead, who gifted me the pattern which inspired my use of this yarn for this project. So yeah, I so appreciate all of the love, kindness and support that you show here on the channel, and yeah, a lot of these projects are possible thanks to you. Right, okay, I'm going to wrap up for today. I need to roll the dice and get started on today's project, and in the meantime please do keep commenting below, let me know what you're working on, what you've been casting on, and if there are any new cast-ons to share tomorrow, I certainly will. Lots of people have said they've been getting lots of inspiration from all of the projects that everyone has been casting on, which is just one of my favourite things about the cast-ons these days. And so yeah, I hope you will join me for the next video. Until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy, maybe cast on a project or two. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.